Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel. First and foremost, before we get into these football topics, we just wanted to thank y'all for the continued support on the channel. Obviously, we're at like 860 something subscribers right now, so we appreciate the continued support. We're on that road to 1,000, and hopefully you can help us get there. Hit the subscribe button down below if you enjoy these topics, and let us know down below in the comments what you think of everything we're about to talk about.
Absolutely. We appreciate every single one of you guys' support, any type of engagement. Like Zach said, you disagree or agree with any points we have, let us know in the comments below. We love reading it. We love responding, but we got a good topics, good show planned, but let's get right into it. Absolutely. With Champions League back once again, and your club played Dortmund away at Germany, and they came up short once again. So I'll pass this one off to you. What do you have to say for Chelsea's performance?
I'm absolutely heartbroken. I'm gutted. That was an absolute gut punch of a performance because we played well. That was one of the best performances I've seen from this club in a very long time. And I didn't think I'd be saying that coming into the match because of how bad it's been recently and how bad I've been slandering Graham Potter. But after this performance, I can't necessarily give Potter too much of the blame here. Obviously look, football is a results-based game. So Potter is not getting away with this by any stretch of the imagination. We've still only won 2 games out of our last 14. And I've said it for a very long time now. I've been Potter out because of these results. And because of football being a results-based game, he's going to have to pick up results, but ultimately he's going to get into the end of the season. So my thing, he has until the end of the season ultimately to prove himself, not only to me, but to the rest of the Chelsea fans. And, this result obviously doesn't impress me in terms of, we lost, but, we played well. We dominated that game. We absolutely dominated that game. We went into one of the toughest places to play, and we absolutely took it to them. We should have won that game. We created the better chances. I mean, statistically speaking, we dominated in every stat. We had more possession, more expected goals, more shots on target, big chances created. We dominated in every way, shape, and form. More passes. We dominated this match. It's absolutely baffling to me how we weren't able to get that breakthrough goal. And it's just one lapse of concentration, one mistake that costed us. And that's how it is in these types of games, especially away from home. It takes one mistake to ultimately cost you, and that's exactly what happened in the second half. And it was so disappointing because if Dortmund were going to score, it seemed much more likely for it to be in the first half because they played a good first half, but I still think we were the better team. But then the second half, we came out and we took it to them. And even once they scored, we still took it to them. We should have gotten the equalizer. It's just absolutely disappointing that, it took them counterattacking off of our corner that we had a chance to score from, that same corner. They end up clearing the ball. Adeyemi takes a brilliant first touch. And Enzo Fernandez gets one-on-one with the guy who is significantly faster than him. He's able to get the better of him and then rounds Kepa and finishes it. People are saying it's a good goal. I mean, it is a good goal, but I mean, it's not like a goal that haven't seen before. It's just a mistake from Chelsea. And it kind of sums up the season so far. Like, just one mistake, one lapse of concentration, and it ultimately cost us. But it's just so disappointing because we actually played well. I didn't think we would ever put in a performance like this. This was the best performance I've seen, and it's just so disappointing. Like, it's just, I came away from that game. I wanted to be angry because that's how I've been after a lot of Chelsea games, but I was genuinely sad. I was upset. I was genuinely just disappointed that we didn't do better and we didn't get the result out of that game because we deserved it. We absolutely deserved it. We were the better team. And obviously, it's not over. You know what I mean? It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. It's not going to be an easy game at Stamford Bridge for Dortmund, and if they expect it to be, they got something coming for them. I'm not going to say we're going to win it, but I know it's not over. And N'Golo Kante is going to be back for the second leg. I'm not counting us out yet. I mean, it only takes one goal and we could take it to extra time. God knows what happens from there. It's one goal in it. There's no more away goals rule or anything like that in the Champions League, so it's not over. And if we can perform like that again, we can win the game. I mean, we should have won that game. Joao Felix, what a performance. Reece James, what a performance. Enzo Fernandez played well, even though Adeyemi, was able to get the better of him. I mean, I come away with it. I mean, even Havertz had his moments. I mean, it wasn't a great game by any stretch of the imagination. Before I pass it off to you, because you look like you're eager to flame on Chelsea for whatever reason, my guy that I've backed so far, and I'm still backing him. I'm not backing him by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned with Mykhailo Mudryk. A little bit concerned. Because Ben Chilwell started this match, and obviously we were blaming a lot of his performances on Marc Cucurella. And rightfully so. I mean, Cucurella was absolutely terrible. But I still didn't see enough from Mudryk. He had some bad touches. Even when he got into good spaces, he wasn't didn't show me that final product. Didn't show me the good first touch. He had some chances, had some opportunities. He didn't make the most of them. Disappointing. But I'm not counting him out. I'm not saying he's a flop or anything like that. But I'm saying I'm starting to get a little bit concerned, a little bit, and I hope that he can have a good performance against Southampton in our next match to finally maybe get a little bit of his confidence back. That's my thing. I'm very happy with how the team played, even though it was a loss. But I'm just disappointed, sad, upset, but not angry. I can't be angry after that. I genuinely can't.
Well, I think we saw this game very differently. One, I am not surprised because this was what I expected. I expect nothing else from Chelsea. When I look at Chelsea Football Club, currently constructed, I see a bunch of players put together, worth a lot of money, but don't give you anything. They don't give you any results. They don't win you football games. Yes, they played well today. But have that mindset. Went away from home, played fairly well, but still come out with a loss. That's a losing team's mentality, to the fact that that's what losing teams do. They play good in losses. That's what Dortmund did. The flip side of that, they did not play the best. There was a lot of points in this game where they were on the back foot many times, but that's where winning teams win matches, where even when it's not going their way, they find a way to win. And I will give credit to Edin Cherzik's men. I'm sorry if I butchered that. He was able to come out of the half. They came out the half not as creative and a little bit, with their hands in their pockets a bit, but it came down to one corner. And that's where the cardinal sin. That I don't know if I quite blame the Chelsea players more than I just paid Graham Potter, because that is unacceptable.
You're blaming Graham Potter for that?
Concede on your own. That comes down to the manager. You cannot. That cannot happen. That comes with how you set it up. That can't happen. That can't happen. If that happens in a high school game, you get fired. That is not. You cannot happen. When was the last time you've ever seen a team concede from their own corner? And I'll give credit to Karim Adeyemi. Not like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I've never seen that happen a lot in professional football, where that off their own corner, that does not happen every single day. That is despicable. That can't happen. But Karim Adeyemi absolutely does Enzo Fernandez, and he takes him on and just absolutely smokes them and gets by Kepa and scores a brilliant goal. Look, and yeah, I'm not going to pull it completely on Enzo because Enzo's not a defender, but Enzo has to do better.
What do you want him to do? Foul him? You want him to foul him?
You want him to
take a red card. Take a red card.
Karim Adeyemi just did a move that you do against children. He just ran by him. You have
in a 1v1 in open space against a guy who's significantly faster. He's always going to be at the disadvantage. There. He's always going back.
How many center backs are faster than forwards? How many defenders are truly faster than forwards?
When you have you're one-on-one in open space. You're one-on-one in open space. If it's like that,
you have to do better. You have to do better. No, you have to do better.
Enzo is not even a defensive midfielder. If we're talking about N'Golo Kante, we're talking about Koulibaly or whatever. Whatever. I mean, you're literally just blaming him because of it. You're blaming him because of his price tag, not because that's his skill set.
Absolutely not. Enzo has to do better. If he's that guy, if he's the box-to-box guy that's going to revive this football club, he has to do better. But besides that, he had a decent game, a solid game. But this game ultimately comes down to just Chelsea's finishing, their lackluster finishing in the final third. This team is never going to be good with Kai Havertz as striker. As much as he has some bright spots here and there, you're never going to be a good club with Kai Havertz at striker. That's not happening. And to be fair, João Felix, he played well. He had a good game. But God, this guy can't finish.
Very good game.
He's one of the worst finishers.
He was the best. He was the best player on the pitch.
Very, very good. I mean, I don't know if not being able to finish 5 chances or however many chances he had is a great game. I don't know. Maybe I forget the concept of what a great game is. But he just can't finish. He does a lot of other things great. I'll give you that. He's a great dribbler. He's a great passer, but his finishing's horrible. That's why he struggles to get double figures in goals per season. That's not what he does. But unfortunately, that's what Chelsea are trying to rely on him. And they pair him up with Ziyech and Mudryk and Havertz. That's the worst finishing possibility. Those guys aren't going to finish chances. They cannot throw a ball. They can't kick a ball in the ocean. These guys are not going to be able to finish chances. And I've been first guessing this, that Mudryk is just not good enough. He's overrated. He's a flop. I'm gonna outright say he's a flop.
4 games.
I'm calling it right now. He is not going to be what they expected him to be. He did not demand that price tag that they paid for him because, like I said, he had proven nothing. He had basically one half good season and then nothing. So they outright pay $70 million for a guy, and they wanted to blame completely. Oh, it was Kukurea. Kukurea didn't want to pass on the ball. Had Chilwell, and you still can't play a full 90, even when you have Chilwell. And maybe that's because they don't want to play Kukurea and Mudryk at the same time anymore. So when Chilwell can't play a full 90, that means Mudryk has to come out. That's unacceptable. It doesn't matter. If you're $70 million for a guy, you would expect that he could play full 90. I mean, 4 games he hasn't been able to see whistle to whistle to the end of the game. That's unacceptable. And I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't know. You can be sad. You can be whatever. You predicted a win, but I'm not surprised from what I saw.
I don't. Look, based on the recent performances of Chelsea, you can't look at this game and say that we played worse than what we've been. We played significantly better. We deserve to win that match.
I think,
and I'm not excusing the result, but I'm saying this was the best performance we've had since the World Cup.
I think this is the best lineup Chelsea can put out at the moment. I mean, realistically, from all signing, from that 300, war chest that they brought in, really only 2 signings they brought in is playing this game. That's part of their strongest
Champions
lineup.
League. Not everyone. Not only 3 of them can play in the Champions League. It's how it works. So only Felix, Mudryk, and Enzo Fernandez can play. The rest of them can't play. Badiashile can't play.
Okay, that flew over my head.
Madueke can't play. Fofana can't play. A lot of them can't play.
But I still do think this is Chelsea's strongest lineup. And me personally, I think they played well, but have to get a win. Look, as much as you could say they played great, they played this, they did that, they dominated most parts of this game. I'm not going to say they fully dominated, because if you fully dominate, you win. There were certain points where they were the dominant team. They had Dortmund on the back foot, but they cannot score. They create chances. This Chelsea team can create the off and off chance, but they can't finish. They just can't. And their back line was great. There's a lot of chances where Koulibaly and Thiago Silva stopped very chances from Dortmund, because Dortmund can get at teams. I mean, when this team is clicking on a counterattack, they're hard to stop.
Well,
but
the
back line was able to hold up.
We noticed that. This game was very open from the very beginning. It was very end-to-end, and it was going to be... I mean, to be honest, after the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought it was going to be much more high-scoring than it ended up being at a 1-0. I thought this could have been a 2-2 type of game, a 3-2. I mean, it was very, very attacking-minded on both sides, and ultimately, it was Adeyemi who got the goal. But you look at even Dortmund in the first half, they created some good chances, and even Chelsea, they had one cleared. They have cleared off the line. Joao Felix should have scored 2. One off the bar, and then the other one where he sent it into Rosed, which should have been in the back of the net quite comfortably, especially for a guy that we're talking about paying, I don't know, 80-90 million from Atletico. Right now he's just on loan,
and also he's 250k wages, and I don't think, I mean, Atletico are going to want 100 million for Joao Felix. That's just what they're going to ask for, and he's nowhere near that price. I think if you get him for 6 million, I mean that's a deal. I think that's why I value him at, because he just can't finish. He's never been a good finisher. I don't know if he's going to just develop that. He's going to wake up one morning and decide to start finishing. But Chelsea are they have the same problem they've always had. They need a 9. They don't have a true finisher. That's what's going to kill them until they can get one. Because I don't see this changing. I think this tie is over. If you put in N'Golo Kante, I don't think N'Golo Kante stops that.
Hold on.
Stop that.
Hold on. Because so you already conceded the fact that it was a good performance today, did you not?
Yes.
So if it was a good performance that we created all of these chances, I'm not saying we're going to score all of these chances, but if we can create all of these chances, I don't understand how you can say a 1-0 tie is over. It's not. It literally doesn't even equate.
No, it does equate, because on one of Chelsea's good days, I'll just say this is one of Chelsea's great days, they weren't able to capitalize. And Dortmund did not play up to the standard that they probably expected to. So you give them another chance. And look, Chelsea, maybe if you're talking about Chelsea in the past years.
This was them at their fortress as well. I mean, they have never been as good as they are away from home as they are at home. That's the facts about Dortmund.
Okay. but you have to look at the option they're playing. Look, maybe this is Chelsea of the past, where this is, they're coming to the bridge, Stamford Bridge. I've seen lesser teams get results at the bridge. This is not the same Chelsea.
I'm not saying that the bridge
team.
is a fortress. I'm just saying it's literally impossible to say that this tie is 100% over. That if we score one goal, one lucky goal, we're back to square one, 1-1. And I'm not predicting that by any stretch of imagination. I'm just saying you can't say that it's over.
I can't, especially say after that, because I feel that it's over. I mean, that was Chelsea's best performance, and they weren't able to get at least a draw out of it. That's all I'm saying. That's the facts. That is the facts, that Chelsea played a great game, yet they still lost. So I might think that they're going to play another great game, and Dortmund are going to allow them to do everything they did in this game. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it might be just a closer game. I think Dortmund get out with a draw at the bridge. They get a result, and they get by. That's what I think. That's why I think I'm not saying that
over. Can't happen. But you're already basically saying that you should go to the bookies, go to Las Vegas, and put $100,000 on Dortmund going through.
Put it on there. Put it on there.
I wouldn't go that far. Look, you cannot say that this tie is over. But based on what this performance was, I think that we have a very good chance to go into Stamford Bridge and get a result. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying run to your bookie and go bet on it. What I'm saying is it's not impossible. Because of what I saw today, this was the best performance I've seen from Chelsea. And that's why it's so disappointing for us not to at least get a draw, because we went into a fortress. Dortmund is a fortress. It's not easy to get results away from home when you're playing Dortmund. It's not easy to go there. Not easy to go there. And we went there and we turned up. This was the best. And I wouldn't have guessed that, because based on what I know about Chelsea, the mentality of this squad, what I thought about Graham Potter, I would have thought we would have capitulated under the pressure of playing in the big moment in that stadium. And that's exactly what we didn't do. It was one lack of concentration, one failure off of a corner, an attacking corner, and I'll concede that to you. There's no excuse for conceding from your attacking corner. No excuse for that. And I mean, at the end of the day, we did. We found a way to do it, and that sums up Chelsea's season. It's one killer, catastrophic mistake of just what is it? A schoolyard play. It was a schoolyard play. And to be fair, like you said, that might not even happen in the schoolyard. But
no,
we found a way to make it happen.
I haven't seen that a lot.
And it's just disappointing.
I know as much as we can sit here and we can talk about how well Chelsea played, what doesn't go with that is their finishing. I just don't think they can score. I don't think they can score. That's just it. Because there's nothing. They've scored one goal in their past 4 matches. It's not good enough. That's characteristic of Chelsea Football Club. They cannot score, and now they're gonna have to. Dortmund's gonna have to go to the bridge, and I'm sure Dortmund. I mean, they're a decent side. They're decent, but this is a team that's going to definitely be looking out to, probably not go for the kill shot, a more defensive side team. And Chelsea are going to have to break this Dortmund team down. That's possibly going to go into the bridge playing more defensive, that's already going to pile on to the fact.
I think that if Dortmund play defensive and they let us attack them like that, I don't think it'll bode well for them. I think they should take a similar game plan in, and they need to try to get a second goal. I don't think they can park the bus. I don't think that's a good strategy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's either, but I'm just saying that's a possibility that Dortmund could go into this game and say, let's just play conservatively. Let's not necessarily go for the kill shot, but let's just play conservative. And look, from everything that we've seen, that does not seem like the worst idea ever, because Chelsea create chances, but they cannot score. So, I mean, is it the worst possible plan? Would I personally do it? Absolutely not. That's a strong
kind of
possibility.
With fire.
What can happen?
You're
playing with fire, but I mean, this is a Chelsea team that's about as hot as an ice cube. But they can do what they want. They can go in there, and I think they're going to get the result that they need to move on.
After that, I feel so conflicted, because I have no reason to believe that Chelsea will be able to sustain this type of performance. I mean, to be fair, based on what I know about Chelsea, especially this season, we're going to take this, I don't even want to call it elite, but very good performance from, compared to what we've seen recently. And we're going to go and play Southampton next, and we're going to somehow shit the bed and lose 2-0. That's what we're going to find a way to do it. If anything that is true about Chelsea that I know this season that's what's going to happen. We're going to find a way to lose, even though we had a great performance, because we're going to play shit next game. You know what I mean?
Well,
Even though I feel that way,
how
I
can you say
still
you're gonna lose 2-0 to Southampton, but yet expect a result from
no no no
getting
no. What I'm
beating
saying is
Dortmund?
I'm not predicting a 2-0 loss to Southampton. I'm saying if what I know about Chelsea is true and the way that we've been inconsistent the entire season, that's what could happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen because we have never been able to. If we have a good performance, the next game we don't have the same level of performance. It's never the same. If you know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, so that's why I lean into more of the fact that I think Dortmund's going to close this out.
And
But I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I don't think that's as crazy as you're making it
no,
seem.
no. I'm saying that it was crazy the fact that you were going to say basically with 100% certainty that the tie is over. That it's not even a chance.
I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident.
I don't even think Dortmund is as confident as you are.
I think they are. After that performance, I'd be very confident
because
they were able to beat Chelsea on their best day.
I mean, we could sit here and debate about that all day, but I don't know how you can get cooked at home and win. I mean, they did win, but I don't know how you can get cooked at home.
You get cooked and you win. Yeah, you win on your worst day. That's the best thing you can ask for a football team. Of course, you feel confident because you were able to play shit and still win, and now you have a chance to play anything better than that, and possibly better chance get a performance that you need in the next match. But obviously we could be here all day talking about this performance. There's a lot other big games that happen today, so I think even in the past leg, so I think we can move forward and get into the next one.
So obviously moving on to another match that just took place today. Obviously, I mean, this was, we talked about it in the last episode, an absolutely crazy match between Manchester City and Arsenal just took place. And I'm going to go ahead and get straight into this. I told you this would happen. I predicted this. I told you this would happen. And I was right. Manchester City schooled Arsenal. They took him to school. Pep Guardiola took Mikel Arteta and he taught him another lesson. The master teaches the apprentice another lesson. That sums up this match. Arsenal, first of all, they were lucky to even get a goal in this match because that penalty that they got awarded was not a penalty. I'll take it to the grave. Ederson was unlucky to have that awarded a penalty. I mean, the ball was gone. They ended up clearing the ball off the line, and they gave a penalty for that. I don't think that was a penalty. And I think, honestly, it could have been a little bit of a makeup call considering what VAR had done to Arsenal in the past couple of games. And it's just one of those things. Manchester City were still able to overcome that and ultimately get the win here. This was an absolute masterclass. Erling Haaland, once again, great performance. People were talking about how he's making City worse. And I think he silenced a lot of those critics today. He finally gets a goal against the Big Six team. He silenced those critics today that he couldn't do that. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how he had any critics based on the season that he's been having, but he did, and I think he silenced those today. Jack Grealish, I mean, he silenced the entire British media today, getting the winning goal ultimately for Manchester City in this match. I give a lot of credit to Pep Guardiola because in a lot of matches like this, he tends to overthink it. He tends to, ultimately take a lot of the blame for these types of big matches when, they ultimately go wrong. I mean, it happened in the Champions League final. It's happened in the Champions League multiple times for Man City in his tenure. But this match, it was a huge match, and he didn't overthink it. I mean, he played pretty much the exact same 11 that, got the win the last match. Played a lot of the same tactics, played similar football. He didn't change it because it wasn't broken. And I give Pep Guardiola a lot of credit for that. It's something that you wouldn't think he needs to have credit for keeping the same lineup, but he does because he typically overthinks it. So I give a lot of credit to Pep. But then ultimately, it wasn't a terrible performance from Arsenal, but it was disappointing because you would have liked to have seen more. But I think what was shown here was that City just have the better depth. They overall have the better squad. And that's why I predicted them to ultimately win the Premier League. I mean, it's the analogy I used last episode. The elephant was going to fall out of the tree eventually. And this is exactly what happened. The elephant has started to fall out of the tree. They still have a game in hand. They still play Manchester City again. The title race is not over. But I think that Manchester City will go on one of these magical runs. They always do of a winning streak. And they will ultimately go ahead and win the Premier League title. Because, it's what I think I just saw the statistic. They have lost 12 consecutive games to Man City. 12. Not even, they can't even get a draw against Man City. So they just have their number. Arteta, he has got his work cut out for him with this Arsenal team right now because they are in desperate need of picking up points, and they cannot fall behind of this Man City team. They have to keep it at this, level on points with a game in hand margin. They have to keep it like this. And based on what I'm seeing right now, it's going to be difficult to steady the ship. And I would give Arteta a lot of credit if he is able to steady the ship. But for me right now, this is Man City's title to lose. I said it last episode, and that's what I firmly believe will end up happening. Come I think May when they ultimately end up lifting the title.
This was the game Arsenal could not afford to drop all 3 points to. I said it last episode, and I somewhat begrudgingly said they would draw, but I just had a bad feeling going into it that Manchester City was on the rise and Arsenal were on the fall. And that's what happened. I mean, City absolutely outplayed them. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne scores an absolute screamer, and then, like you said, Arsenal were lucky to score, but they were unable to score from open play, and they just played somewhat uncharacteristically how they've been playing this whole season. I mean, City were able to dominate them and really make their attacking third efforts not as lethal as they looked this whole season. And Erling Haaland did finally show up. I mean, that is also something that people have been making up. I mean, Haaland has failed to score against all top 6 clubs away from home. That's something he was struggling with to do, but he finally did that. And all credit to him. I mean,
good finish as well.
It was a good finish, and that was the nail in the coffin. But Jack Grealish's was the game-winning goal, and that was, like you said, he's a guy that gets criticized heavily, mostly for his price tag, and him being a guy that mostly comes off the bench and not really being the player that City got him to be. But he scored a very important goal, and if City do go on to win the title, that's going to be possibly a title-winning goal, and I'm not ready to say that it's fully done like you. I mean, you didn't go as far to say it's fully done, but this is definitely, it now it's a race. Like, if it wasn't a title race before, now it's a race because Arsenal do still have a game in hand, but this is about as wall to wall as it gets. I mean, it's gonna be, if you draw, it's absolutely, you hold your head in shame because you can't afford to drop any points anymore.
No.
Arsenal cannot drop any points, and that puts a lot of pressure on these young players because, like you said, City, player for player, have a much better squad. But Arsenal were riding the high that they found good form and they were playing good football, but now they're starting to get rattled a little bit and they're not responding well to it. And Arteta's going to have to steady the ship and really have to rally his troops because their entire title hopes ride on that, because they can't afford to drop any more points, because I don't know if City's going to be dropping a crazy amount of points. They still have to play Arsenal once again, but the record against Man City is not very good at all.
Terrible.
And I don't think, like you said, City, to give them a chance like this to where they know what to do. They know they can go on these winning streaks. To give them that opportunity to be like, just go and do it again, it's really dangerous, especially against a team like Arsenal that's never really been there. They haven't been there since the 90s. Like, this is a team that hasn't been at this, almost the precipice in so long, especially with a very young team. It's not impossible. We've seen lesser teams be able to do it. Like, I mean, for example, Leicester City, but Leicester City was possibly a once in an entire eon, occurrence. And this would be the closest thing to that Leicester run. But like I said, it's so impossibly hard to do that, especially when Leicester did it. It's a tall ask, and I'm still gonna back Arsenal to do it because they were still my pick. I'm gonna ride with my pick. I'm not ready to fully abandon them, but it's definitely rocky roads from here on in.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things you needed to see a better overall performance, especially at home. I mean, when they go and play Man City again, which is ultimately
It's
now
gonna be at the Etihad,
we circled this game and we said this was the game. Well, let's go ahead and mark your calendars, folks, because this next game at the Etihad, that is the game here, and yeah, they're going to have to turn up in that game, but ultimately they're going to have to go ahead and turn up in these next games, ultimately, because they cannot drop any more points. I mean, they have Aston Villa next week in the Premier League, and Man City were able to just take care of business against Aston Villa, but let's not act like Aston Villa are, any slouches. I mean, Unai Emery has definitely fixed that team up, and they're playing good football, and they're going to have to turn up and get a good result at there. They're going to have to get all 3 points. They cannot even afford a draw anymore. And, when you look at Arsenal's 11 today, the guys that they needed to step up didn't necessarily step up. Saka, he did score the penalty, which shouldn't have been a penalty, but even besides the penalty, he played well. But then guys like Odegaard, who had been in discussions for potentially, if Arsenal win the league, he's going to win Premier League Player of the Season. Where was he today? Where
Yeah,
was he? I didn't see him.
he's taking he's
He
dropped
took
off in his
he,
form.
he took the day off. I mean, was he even playing today? I didn't see him.
Not so
Martinelli
well.
poor today. Nketiah.
Martinelli hasn't been really flourishing in Gabriel Jesus' absence. I mean, he's really
Exactly.
been
That's what I was
struggling.
about to say. Nketiah, he's done all right since replacing Jesus. He's filled in the spot admirably, but you needed to have Jesus for matches like this. And you can definitely notice his absence more in these big matches like this against a Man City, where if they had Jesus, maybe this result goes a little bit differently because not only he plays
Maybe.
better, but also he improves the whole team. He makes Martinelli better. He makes Saka even play better. He makes the midfield play better because he drops deep and helps connect play. He is that guy for this team, and that's why they, paid the money to sign him. And it's, we'll see when he's able to come back, if he's able to even come back this season. I'm not so sure. But Zinchenko, he was looking like he was still playing for Man City out there. Gabriel, I mean, Jesus Christ, that might have been one of the worst center back performances of the season. And Tomiyasu, bro, I don't even know why he was playing. Ben White should have been playing, but I don't know why Tomiyasu
Ben
was
White
even
should
there.
have been playing.
But Tomiyasu was ultimately the guy to blame for that first goal, and then, Ramsdale, he gave up 3 goals. What can you really say? I mean, he's the goalkeeper. Is what it is.
Yeah.
So overall, my thing with Arsenal is just that they needed to play better, but I'm not surprised by this. I expected this to happen. And, like I kind of said before, I expect Man City to, go on a winning run here. This is the start of something special. You don't want to awake the sleeping giant. It's what I said last episode. And that's what has been done. The sleeping giant has been woken up. They're getting on that killer form just when they need to. And, Arsenal, they're starting to fall off a little bit. The elephant is falling out of the tree, like I said. And it's one of those things. I would be shocked and impressed if Arteta is able to steady the ship and get this team looking right again, like it was before the World Cup break and ultimately when they were, 50 points midway through the season, which was, on pace to be a centurion. But I don't think they're going to be able to look anywhere near like that again. And they're going to finish comfortably second place in the Premier League. It's what I would expect.
I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, Arsenal fans would have liked to have, definitely won a league title. But I mean, it's tough when everybody's already, basically crowning you before you even really before the season really starts. Because
the season does not end at Christmas, and that's what people.
Yeah, like it doesn't, and I mean we were guilty of that as well. I mean, there's a lot of points where we came on here and said, Arsenal have won the title. I mean, there's a clip out there where you congratulate Arsenal for winning the title.
Because I thought it was true at the time. Yeah,
maybe it's a bit of you're trying to jinx them, jinxing the team, and I think it's I
think it worked, right?
It's somehow worked, but I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, the more likely scenario is City, the proven champions, will steady out and win out instead of, a more unproven side being able to overcome what is, Manchester City.
So before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to pose this question to you. If Arsenal do end up not winning the league, which I would say looks likely at this very moment, do you consider this season a failure for Arsenal, given what the context of what we know about the season, being top at Christmas, being at 1.5 points clear with a game in hand? Do you consider this season a failure if they don't win the league? Because I saw that question being asked.
Yeah, I saw that one around too, and I would say absolutely not, because I mean Arsenal were probably hoping to even just make Champions League football. I mean, I get that there's such a great historic start to the season, but what they expected before the season was that they hoped to make Champions League football, and that's what they're going to inevitably. Look, I don't think there's really a chance they don't make top 4.
Oh no,
Of
course not.
If they don't make top 4, I don't. Something catastrophically would have to go on. They would have to be caught with like some cheating scandal that gets them relegated or something. But they're gonna make Champions League football, and look. There really is not a huge, we lost to Manchester City in the title. I mean, there's a lot of teams that couldn't beat Manchester City in the title race because that's
prime
just,
Liverpool.
I mean, prime Liverpool. I mean, we have to we almost crowned Liverpool as somewhat champions because they had to play against Man City, so they were still really really good though. So I mean, it's not a huge thing to like hang your head in shame or nothing, but. I mean, Arsenal fans are going to be happy. They'll be back in Europe. I mean, they'll have Champions League football once again. And I would not look at it as a failure. I mean, as long as they get Champions League football, it's gonna suck that they were top of Christmas and they were on a historic to be a centurion. But I mean, you were playing so above your level that was kind of unsustainable. That was literally unsustainable, especially with the players you have. A lot of players were playing above what they usually do. and they're going to need a couple more signings. I mean, in the transfer one, I think next season there could be a really good chance that they do actually are legitimate, like they can win the title more easily with a couple more signings. But they were unlucky to obviously lose Gabriel Jesus in the World Cup break. I think that's really been a detriment. So there's a lot of things that could go into what can happen next season. But this season, if they don't win the title, I don't think it's a absolute failure.
Yeah, and you know, we don't do this all the way often, but I have to agree with you here. I mean, look, for the club, for Arteta, for these players, for even the fans, it's gonna feel like a failure because you remember you were basking in that glory of being at 50 points, being top of the league, being 5 points ahead of Man City with the game in hand. I mean, you thought you had it won, and it's easy to feel like that, but you know, it took one blip of bad form, one loss to Everton, and now it's all capitulated. It's going to feel like a failure, but in reality, it isn't a failure because you have to look at the context. What did you think was going to happen at the beginning of the season? And if you told Arsenal fans that they were going to finish second at the beginning of the season, that they were going to be at some points neck and neck with Man City, they were going to be neck and neck with Man City, and they were going to really feel like they could go and win the title. Of course, they would take that. These are Arsenal fans that were starving. These guys were starving for any kind of success, any sustained level of success. And they were like, if we could get Champions League football, we're taking that. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They are going to get Champions League football. And they're ultimately going to finish second in the Premier League. Maybe even, I don't think that Man United will overtake them. They would have to really, I think, keep up this bad form. And I don't think they're going to be quite this bad. You know, they're not going to overtake Man City, but they're not going to be bad enough to let Man United overtake them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
I get what you're saying.
This is not a failure. But it's going to feel like that. And I understand why it feels like that because for any fan, any club, any player, Arteta, Eason, you know, it's going to feel like a failure because you felt like, and you're starting to even convince yourself that, man, we could really do this. You know, you had people convinced. At first it was like, oh, well, they're not going to sustain it. And then they kept winning. And then you were like, hold on, are they going to do it? You know, a little bit of doubt started to creep into everybody's mind. And then they really convinced everyone. And then they ended up bottling it anyway. So it feels like a failure, but it's not actually a failure. And for any Arsenal fans watching this, it is not a failure. You are already overachieving, massively overachieving. I know it's not going to feel like it now, but you know, you're still in a good position for the future.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, no matter what team you are, it's still going to feel devastating because you're going to feel we were right there. It was right here. We had a hand on our hand.
They had a hand.
We had a hand on the trophy, hand on the title, and you end up coming up short. And it's always going to feel, even though, I mean, the same could be said. I mentioned it before, Leicester City. I mean, if Leicester City just ended up getting edged out to second place, they're still going to be devastated, even though they're Leicester fucking City. I mean,
it wouldn't have actually been a failure.
Of course, you're going to feel gutted
it.
because. Yeah, it was. I mean, if Leicester City finished second, I mean that's almost historic in itself. But the fans would feel so gutted because they were right there. But obviously, that's the same feeling that Arsenal would have if they ended up. I mean, we're almost somewhat kind of conceding, but that's what it would feel like if they don't end up inevitably winning the title.
And they still. I mean, it's not impossible for them to win.
It's not impossible. I mean, but it's definitely like. If you didn't think it was a race before, now it's it's about as nuts to butts as it gets.
It's squeaky bum time now.
Yeah. I mean it's tight. It's pretty tight.
So now we can go ahead and move on to the next game that we have here, the final game. Obviously, this was two European powerhouses playing in the Champions League yesterday. We all know by now. Bayern Munich playing PSG in the Champions League, and I'm going to give this one to you first. What do you think about this match? Ultimately, Bayern getting the win against PSG.
Yeah, a rematch of the 2021 Champions League final.
2020,
and
right?
2020.
The COVID final.
Champions League final.
The Mickey Mouse.
the COVID Champions League, and it was pretty surprising. I mean, Coleman scores again on PSG. I mean, he has a knack for scoring against Paris Saint-Germain.
He cooks them.
He cooks. Let Coleman cook, and Bayern just did what they had to do. I mean, this was a bit unexpected because when we made our predictions for this game, we did not expect Lionel Messi
or Mbappe
to play at all. But yet again, we still picked Bayern Munich. So I mean, somehow we luckily were able to squeeze that one out, and it's not over yet. But it was definitely not what a performance you wanted to see from Paris Saint-Germain, because obviously they had Lionel Messi, and Lionel Messi came up very, very small, smaller than what he actually is in that game. He did not play well. Neymar, I don't know what happened realistically, and it was crazy that it really realistically came down to the guy I think who's arguably the most injured that was Kylian Mbappe, who couldn't start the game because he had a bit of a fitness and still had a lingering injury. Came on and just completely changed the game. I mean, when he came on, almost everything he touched was a chance. Because that's how good this guy is. Kylian Mbappe is so good that even when he's at 100%, anytime this guy touches the ball, I mean, it's there's a good possibility chance he's going to create a very, very good scoreable chance. But unfortunately, he scored 2 offside goals. I mean, he is a bit unlucky. I mean, he has to, that could just come down to that was his first game back in what? I mean, couple matches. I mean, there's a bit of rust. Even for Kylian Mbappe, you can be rusty. But I mean, they just weren't clinical enough. And for PSG, you wouldn't think you would be saying that because they have a strike force of Lionel Messi, Neymar, and they had Mbappe towards the end of that game. Were they a bit unlucky not to at least squeak out a draw? Possibly, but I mean, now what? They have to go back to Germany, right? I think they were playing in Paris. I believe they were playing. It was a bit.
Yeah, they were.
They're playing in Paris. It was foggy because I remember every time Madrid went over there, it was always foggy. But yeah, now they have to go back to play Bayern at their home and get a result. And I'm not sure if Sadio Mane is going to be back by then. He could be, possibly. We don't know. But even if he's not there, it's going to be hard to break down this Bayern Munich team because it's a well-oiled machine of a team. Even without Sadio Mane, they can still get at you, and they're hard to break down. And they're going to need Lionel Messi to do what he did for Argentina. He's going to need them to put him on the back. I mean, they're going to have to rely on it. And you would think that it would be a little bit easier for Lionel Messi because he has more talent around him than what he did at Argentina. But it's almost like different passions. I mean, I'm sure he's not playing with the same passion as he did for Argentina, but I'm sure he really does want to win another Champions League. Because who doesn't want to win another Champions League? I'm sure everybody on that team would want to win a Champions League.
Yeah,
Paris Saint-Germain, the club, would really like to win a Champions League. I mean, that's at the top of their wish list, but it's going to be very hard to go into Bayern Munich's home and get a result that they need to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I mean, look, for PSG, I think you can feel disappointed because ultimately I wasn't planning on starting out with this, but Donnarumma, what were you doing, son? You know, Bayern, they probably deserved a goal, you could say, but to score that goal, I mean, no disrespect, but Donnarumma, you have to do better with that. That was my main takeaway. I first saw the goal and I was like, Donnarumma, what were you doing, son? Horrible goalkeeping. He's got to save that. And for a guy of his quality, he expects to save that, and I expect him to save that. But
I think he had a bit of a drop off since the Euros. I mean, it's a bit alarming because you would have thought that such a young goalkeeper would assert himself as a certified top 3 goalkeeper in the world. Yeah. And I don't know if he is that, but I'll let you continue.
I want to highlight Nuno Mendes, the left back for PSG. Honestly, the best player on the pitch yesterday. And it's crazy to say that when you're on a pitch with Lionel Messi, Neymar, Mbappe when he came on. I mean, you're on a pitch with great players, but Nuno Mendes was the best player for PSG. And it's crazy that he created everything. And then obviously when Mbappe came on, Mbappe did create a lot as well. But I'm just saying in general, Nuno Mendes was the best player on the pitch for PSG. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I would say it's bad because Neymar, one of the worst performances I've ever seen from Neymar. Absolute disaster class, horror show. I don't know what happened. You know,
I think Bayern just have his number. I don't know what's going on, but it just reminded me of how bad he played in that 2020 final, in the Champions League final versus this Bayern Munich team.
I don't know if it's just the way that they defend him or the tactics or something. But something he just did not play well. He was not. It was not even a shell of himself. He was like a double shell of himself. He was not even Neymar anymore. I'm calling him Marne. He's Marne.
Marne.
But even I'm not gonna let. Look, I love Messi just as much as everybody else, unless you're a Ronaldo guy. But I can't let Messi get away with this performance either. I expected better, and from the greatest of all time, you do expect better. He was poor yesterday.
He had some chances.
He had chances. He should have scored. I mean, he had the biggest chance of the game, arguably one of that didn't was obviously the offside goals, but one of the biggest chances for PSG yesterday was Messi being unable to put it away. And obviously the shot did get blocked, but you expect Messi to be able to find a way to get that in the back of the net. But even outside of that chance, he didn't necessarily do much. And you said that you would expect it to be easier for Messi to play with PSG compared to Argentina. And I would actually tend to maybe even think the opposite, because I just think that Argentina's midfield is stronger than PSG's. I think that PSG's midfield and defense is arguably so weak that Messi has to try to do too much. He has to drop even deeper than he normally does, and he's not able to fully be the playmaker and the guy that he wants to be. And obviously, a lot of things get fixed for PSG when Mbappe comes on because of what he's able to do. He's so good and so he draws attention to him so much that maybe he paves over the cracks of the issues of this team. But what I saw yesterday when Mbappe was not on the pitch was a weak midfield, a defense that relied on old man Sergio Ramos to turn back the clock into the
I was
Ramos.
surprised that Ramos even cracked the starting 11. I didn't think
and he played well, but he had to turn back the clock. And you're relying on these things to happen. I wouldn't have expected Ramos to play like that, but he did play well. But my thing is, you are trying to pave over the cracks of issues with PSG because you have Neymar and Messi. You know, that's basically what you're hoping. That's the only reason you even give them a chance in this match. If you look at the starting 11 for PSG and you cover up Neymar and Messi and you look at the rest of this team, this is an ass team.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, they ended up subbing off Hakimi, but they got Zaire Emery starting, who's very young.
That was surprising to me. I mean, the Hakimi got subbed off at the 45th minute. I don't know if he picked up a nick or something.
I don't know.
A little. That was a bit surprising because I think he's the best fullback in the world. But I mean, Mendes definitely filled in that.
He outshined him.
But I mean, Marco Verratti, I don't know. He's just kind of washed now.
He's been a shell of himself.
Yeah, he's never really been the same since 2017, 2018, 2016. He hasn't been the same. And I mean, I'm reading Warren Zaire Emery,
very young, 16-year-old kid. I mean, that's not who you want to be starting in the Champions League.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna trust him to play Bayern Munich in the round of 16. Especially with all the pressure of Paris Saint-Germain, or this is the only thing they play for. I mean, this is the only thing they want to win. I mean, fuck the fucking League One title. They don't give a shit about that. This is what you want. And I mean, I get that they're not the deepest team in the world. I mean, I'm looking at their bench. I don't know who else you would really play in his place. I mean, I really don't know, but it's definitely not looking the greatest. I mean, I think I don't know if they normally play a 4-4-2. I don't know I don't watch Paris Saint-Germain games every week. I mean, I just don't. But maybe if Mbappe's healthy, he doesn't make the 11. They play a 4-3-3. I don't know, but like I do agree with what you said. I mean, if you cover up that front three for Paris Saint-Germain, it's not a very good team. It's a pretty bad team.
It's poor. But my thing is, look, we can sit here and we can bash PSG, but even because of I would say PSG were poor yesterday, and their team in general is kind of poor outside of the front three, I was not overly impressed with Bayern Munich either. I just wasn't. And a lot of that, I think, comes down to the fact that I don't think you can win a Champions League with Choupo-Moting starting as your striker. And obviously, we are waiting for Mane to come back. We don't know when that's going to happen. But I'm not just – I looked at this Bayern team, and I wasn't that impressed. And I give PSG a chance because Mbappe will probably be able to play the full 90. I give them a chance to be able to win this tie still because of the fact that we saw how different the game was when Mbappe came on. So – I think that the PSG can win this game. I still expect, if I had to predict it, I still expect Bayern to go through because that's what I originally predicted. I think overall, they have a better midfield. They have a better defense. Probably better, even better at the goalkeeper position right now. And if Mane comes back, that's kind of just the icing on the cake for me. But I still am not super impressed with Bayern Munich. I don't think this is as good of a Bayern team as the ones we've looked at previous years. So I don't think that they're gonna win the Champions League by any stretch of the imagination. I guess they're a contender, but I don't even put them I'm not I wouldn't be worried about this team. I think that they can get at. I think they can be beaten.
I think with the Sadio Mane, this team, when you look at it on paper, it's very, very good. I mean,
but I don't think they played like that though.
Yeah, I don't think they play like that, but on paper, I'm just saying, like, purely on paper, I think they're a very, very good team. I mean, they looked like they came out with a 3-4-2-1, what it looks like, and I mean, they have De Ligt, Upamecano, Pavard, and then they have Cancelo and Coleman. They didn't even play Alphonso Davies. I don't know if he was fully fit, but he ended up coming on.
They subbed him on for Cancelo, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're good enough to not even have to start Alphonso Davies, I mean, you're doing something good. This is a deep team, and to have a midfield of Goretzka and Kimmich, I mean, that's one of the best pairings you could have. I mean, Kimmich played very well, and obviously, I don't think they played to their highest, the best football they can play. But
they were still able to get the win, which you give them a lot of credit.
They're still able to get down. I mean, yeah, and Muslera did play well. I mean, your guy. I mean, this is the guy you talked about to win the gold. And Musiala. I mean, I'm sorry, I fucking butchered his name, but this is the guy that you mentioned to possibly win the gold. The young player Young Player of the Tournament award in the World Cup. And I mean,
Yeah,
he
well,
played fairly
I knew
well.
he
I
was
mean,
I knew he was quality. I mean, I've seen him play.
deemed. I mean, I've seen people deem him the next Mbappe, and I mean,
Well,
I don't
they're
think
different players. They're different
yeah, they're
players.
different players, but there's people who are still always going to deem stupid shit. But I mean, he played fairly well, and I mean, Sane played pretty shit. But for the most part, for the most part, this team with Mane, I think there's a good chance this could be, like when I think about it in the great landscape, who is the major favorites in this tournament? I mean, at
Well, I
first
was
we thought
thinking
it was
about that myself. Yeah,
because I mean, if this
with Mane, they're definitely up there. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if this Bayern team isn't the favorite, then I kind of don't know who is. I mean, I don't know if I trust Man City in in the Champions League enough. And I mean, at first we thought Paris Saint-Germain just because they had Lionel Messi and all these guys, but from what we've seen, it might not be good enough. I mean, they just don't have the right supporting cast. It's like, when a team it's just so top heavy. They're top heavy as shit. They don't have
Yeah.
anything to supplement what they have to in their attack. And obviously there's other variables like maybe a healthy Madrid or like Man City per se, but I give Bayern a really good shot if they're fully healthy with Sadio Mane to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I would agree if Mane is fit. I don't know what
Yeah,
his
if Mane's
status
fit.
is. If
Choupo-Moting is not going to
Choupo-Moting,
win you.
he's not winning you the Champions League. Yeah,
He's not winning you a lot of things. I mean,
yeah. Maybe the Bundesliga.
maybe a Bundesliga game.
Yeah, but I mean, overall for me, I could come away from this. It's not the worst result for either team. I mean, Bayern, they probably were thinking we need to get the win when they don't have Mbappe and they don't have maybe even a 100% fit Lionel Messi. So they needed to win this game. But then even for PSG, they're probably thinking, 1-0 and we get to go to Bayern and we have a chance to, go get a result with Mbappe, with Messi potentially more fit. Neymar, will he play as bad? I think overall, neither team is too displeased with the result. And I'm not considering this tie over by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, this one I wouldn't deem over, but it's definitely heavily in Bayern's favor. I mean, how the game went, it is definitely Bayern's to lose, but PSG do have an off chance. I mean, they do have more game changers in their 11 than what Bayern have. I mean, they have 3 game changers.
All it takes is one nick of a goal from Mbappe in the first half of the game, and then we're talking about a whole different thing, a whole different tie, in the next match. So it's almost impossible to discount this PSG team when you look at just the on paper ability of this team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, and obviously if Mbappe is able to get maybe another game under his feet, you know what I mean, knock a little bit of the rust off. We started to see him do it
fit
against
again.
Bayern. Needs to get some legs under him. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll have to see how that plays out.
We'll be here for it. I mean, that's gonna definitely be the game to watch. I mean, we called it before the round of 16. This was the game of the round of 16 to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it lived up to that necessarily. It probably wasn't.
Yeah, it hasn't lived up to that, but it's still, this is the best. This is the best that football has to offer at this very moment.
Yeah, to European quote unquote giants.
Yeah, I mean, Bayern's definitely a giant, but in Europe, maybe PSG not. But for the players, the sheer names they have on the back of their jerseys, they're definitely every sense of a giant.
Yeah, exactly. But I think overall, unless you've got any other final points you wanted to say about the Champions League in general or whatever, we can go ahead and wrap this one up.
No, I think that's it for me.
So obviously, like we kind of said, we wanted to just thank y'all for the continued support. Obviously, there's going to be more games, more news coming out, more interesting things in the world of football, and we're going to be right here to cover it, right here to talk about it, give our takes, give our opinions on it. Wanted to thank y'all for the continued support on the channel. Obviously, we had reels that are hitting big numbers, and we're gaining subscribers, and we appreciate the continued support. My final words: let us know in the comments down below what you think about any of these games that happened today.
I echo everything he just said. I mean, I can't really say it very, very much better, except that we both really appreciate everybody's support on TikTok, on YouTube, every single thing. We see it all. We love all the comments. I mean, we get in the comments all the time, and we love the shithousery of it. And I mean, we hope to keep that up and keep our momentum.
Exactly. So I think without further ado, I'm your co-host Zach.
I'm your co-host G.
And we will see y'all next time for another video. Peace.